For any business to thrive, effective communication is key, not just for success, but for maintaining a healthy, respectful work environment. That's where Service Skills comes in, a proven e-learning platform that's transforming organizations through micro-learning modules. Think about it. Are your customer service interactions up to par? How inclusive and collaborative is your workplace? Service Skills offers hundreds of courses on everything from customer satisfaction and team building to management and respectful workplace practices. Validated by millions, these courses empower your staff to excel and communicate effectively, enhancing both personal and company-wide success. And the best part? It's all available at your fingertips with affordable pricing and flexible options that fit your organization's needs. Elevate your team's skills, boost workplace respect, and foster a culture of diversity and inclusion. Join the ranks of satisfied clients who've seen tangible results in performance and communication. Don't let a lack of staff resources be your downfall. Level up your people skills and build your dream team today. Visit serviceskills.com/podcast and let them know the Innovation Economy sent you. That's serviceskills.com/podcast, America's premier soft skills training. Are you struggling with customer experience challenges? OP360 has the solution. Say goodbye to long wait times and hello to seamless service. OP360's people-first approach is revolutionizing customer experience. By prioritizing employee satisfaction, OP360 delivers personalized experiences that drive business growth. Their agile solutions adapt quickly to your customers' needs, optimizing service while reducing costs. And here's an exclusive offer for our podcast listeners. Mention Agile when you contact OP360 and receive free agent training on qualified pilot programs, a $20,000 value at no cost to you. Don't miss out on this game-changing opportunity. Contact OP360 and learn how they can transform your CX strategy. OP360 is a better way to outsource. Visit op360.com. That's op360.com today.
The Agile brand.
Welcome to the B2B Agility Podcast, where we look at the factors that drive success in B2B marketing, with a focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make B2B brands stand out and thrive in a competitive marketplace. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. Now let's get on to the show. Today, we're going to talk about using conversation intelligence data to enable better B2B marketing and a better customer experience. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Eric Williamson, Chief Marketing Officer at CallMiner. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this with you. Why don't we get started with you giving a little background on yourself and your role at CallMiner?
Sure thing. So as you said in the intro, my name is Eric Williamson, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at a company called CallMiner. CallMiner is the leader in conversation intelligence, which I think we're going to spend some time talking about today. In terms of my role there as Chief Marketing Officer, I oversee our global marketing team, and that spans everything from brand to demand gen to events, as well as product marketing. Great. And the BDR team.
Great. So yeah, let's dive in here. And we're going to start by talking about what marketers can learn from conversation intelligence data. So first, just to define terms and make sure everybody's on the same page here, what exactly is conversation intelligence, and what kind of data is collected from this?
Certainly. So I think a lot of your audience is enterprise level organizations. So most of these companies have a variety of different ways that they're interacting with their customers, if they're in healthcare, your patients. So everything from, voice, people calling into large customer service centers or contact centers, to text and chats, whether it be the website or some sort of support chat, but hundreds of different ways that they're interacting, even surveys that they do in post-call, things like that. So all of that data is out there and available. But what typically happens is an organization, marketers especially, are generally just relying on surveys quite a bit for a lot of their insights and the things that help them measure customer experience. Whereas you're missing a vast majority of unsolicited data from all those interactions. So conversation intelligence, like our platform, ingests and then uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze 100% of all those interactions, all those different forms that I talked about. And it analyzes all that to provide real-time guidance to a customer service agent. And then the bigger proposition is, if you think about all those interactions and the data and the valuable insights that are there, it's able to find those root causes and those insights and level those up to, let's say, a CMO or a chief product officer or somebody in operations. And these insights help them improve their business.
Yeah. And to build on that, could you give us an example or two maybe of some of the insights that can be gained? What is this data kind of leveling up to those leaders?
Sure. So thinking above the customer service agent, because I think we're going to talk about that a little bit, but if you think about the insights that might be valuable to a chief product officer, so several of our customers, if you think about this, what's one of the main reasons you're calling into customer service? It's because the product or service, something's wrong with it, they need support. And so if you're able to analyze 100% of all those interactions at scale, you're going to get a much better trove of insights that will be valuable to the product team to optimize their product or service. You're going to get a lot of valuable information based on those interactions that could lead to product development. So that's just an example from a product experience standpoint that a lot of our enterprise level customers are using those insights to improve their business.
And then what about those customer service agents? What kind of insights are they able to do that might improve their work and the results from their work?
Sure. So in a large contact center or a customer service center, there's a couple of different layers. There are the agents themselves who, in this case, if you've got a platform like ours that is analyzing in real time all of the, let's say it's a call, all the conversations, and it's, giving guidance back in real time, it's allowing that agent to do a better job because it's tapping into, let's say, the knowledge base. So as these questions are coming up or the conversation is going on, it's spitting back out the appropriate product information, answers, guidance on how to solve the problem, which is key for the customer service agent. A level above that in the customer service centers, you've got business analysts or analysts in general that are analyzing some percentage of the calls, and they're able to, I guess, better assess at a larger scale some of the agent performance and give them guidance. So part of our platform is a product called Coach, and it's literally what it sounds like. It provides the ability, by analyzing all those interactions, it provides the ability for those analysts and the contact center leaders to provide coaching back to the agents so that they can do their jobs better. Beyond that, some of the fundamentals of contact center is compliance. So you've got a lot of heavily regulated industries like banking or healthcare, where compliance is really, really critical. And so it helps to track a lot of that compliance as well.
Yeah. And so taking a step back then to marketing strategy and, those CMOs out there, knowing that they have access to this conversation intelligence and the insights available, what does this enable marketers to do that they might not have previously been able to do, knowing they have these data and insights capabilities?
Sure. Well, I think the first one would be knowing that that's available.
Right.
A lot of enterprise level organizations, in fact, we do an annual survey of CX professionals and customer service professionals across the globe, and only 50% of enterprise level organizations are actually tapping into this unsolicited data. A lot of it is just mostly still survey based. So first and foremost, knowing that it exists. If you've got multiple large contact centers, that data is there and you may not be tapping into it. Once you have begun to tap into it, then it's just organizational. Let's make sure you have those connections with the CXO or the contact center leaders who can give you access to this information. Once you've got that project going, then I think there's a variety of different things. Just thinking right off the bat, a lot of large marketing organizations for like an enterprise level company, they're largely using survey-based efforts in order to find the insights that are going to drive future product development, future marketing campaigns. You've got a treasure trove of information just coming from a lot of the interactions that are already happening. So you could be tapping into that just to inform what sort of marketing and messaging you should be doing. Beyond that, once you've launched these campaigns, there's a a ton of insight you can gain from hearing the interactions that are happening or analyzing those and seeing the insights. For example, a lot of enterprise level organizations might have direct to consumer or direct response type campaigns out there. These are perfect for the types of one and done, was this a successful transaction or not, that can be analyzed at scale using conversation intelligence. Beyond that, you look at things like brand sentiment, which, generally a large marketing organization for enterprise is going to be using some sort of semi-annual brand survey, or they're going to be using NPS or CSAT or something like that. That is great, but that's survey based. So you're missing out on a ton of additional data that can give you true insight into what your true brand sentiment or, the emotion and sentiment of your customer base is. And then I think lastly, when you think about just campaign effectiveness, we talked about the direct response, but you can also look through all the interactions and analyze through to find out if your message is resonating, if people are saying some of the same phrases and terms back. And it gives you a better, deeper understanding of whether the message that you've been putting out into the market, whether it's TV ads and some of the things that are harder to track, are actually starting to make an impact with your consumer.
Yeah. And I want to follow up on one thing that you brought up early on after I asked that last question, because, I think for those that maybe are not as familiar working with the, let's say Fortune 100, Fortune 500, it might seem like, okay, well, these CMOs, they have access to all these tools and this data. But I want to follow up on what you were saying about, a lot of times the stuff is there, but not known. And again, I've been there and experienced that very thing of, there's a wealth of information. It's just, it's inaccessible for one reason or the other. Sometimes it's technical issues, but, just, I guess the question for you would be, a CMO sitting out there, what would your advice be to them? They might not have everything that they want, everything that you mentioned, perhaps, but there's probably some of this stuff sitting out there. What would your advice be to them to, what's a question that they should ask? And should it be to their customer service team or, to get a little more of these insights, even if they're not all the way there?
Sure. Well, and as I mentioned earlier, at least half of the organizations that are in our annual report, a lot of it is what we found from that research. A lot of it is organizational silos that is causing the problem. Another factor in this is many times CX spans multiple departments. So you may be lucky enough to have a CXO, but a lot of times CX lives a little bit in marketing, a little bit in customer support. So it spans it, which makes it organizationally difficult. But let's just step back and say, all right, you never even knew this data was available, but you have 5 customer service centers, and then you work with 2 different BPOs for handling all of your customer interactions. How can you start tapping into this? I think the first thing to do would be just to make a connection with some of those department leaders. Or if you're looking for your peer levels, customer service centers may roll up underneath customer support or sometimes operations. So make a connection with your peer. And instead of trying to boil the ocean, focus on a couple easier, smaller projects to start. Some of the solutions we've talked about today, and start with that and get a few quick wins where you're tapping into that data as opposed to just survey-based data. And I think then you can grow from that as opposed to trying to do all of the things that we've been talking about.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I can't believe we're already well into the summer months. Things move so fast. It's important to take a moment to pause and check in. Is there something you'd like to celebrate so far from the year? And what are some adjustments you might want to make for the rest of the year? Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. You might want to think about your family, your friendships, your personal goals. Where do you feel like you're making progress, and where do you feel like you might be able to use some help? If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. This summer, take a moment to do this. Stop comparing and start focusing. Visit betterhelp.com/agility to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/agility. So now I want to, we touched a bit on the end customer experience, but I want to talk a little bit more about that, and so kind of talk about the inverse of what we've been talking about and talk through the customer lens. So as far as from the customer experience standpoint, you had mentioned, the coach tool, for instance, and some other things as well. What can be done either in real time, during a call, or maybe even immediately after, when conversation intelligence is used to improve that customer experience? What does this look like from the customer side?
Sure. And I think you sort of mentioned it, but both, to be clear, both post, let's say it's a call, both post interaction or both post call analysis, and then conversation intelligence analyzing this is important, but also the real time aspect of it. I think where the real time aspect of it ultimately improves customer experience is because it's improving the agents, customer service agents' ability to do their job and solve problems. So, we talked a little bit about it, but when a company is using our platform or another platform that has real-time agent guidance, it's listening to, transcribing, and then analyzing all those interactions in real time and being able to provide back the tools needed for an agent to actually solve problems and do their job, and which is going to benefit the customer and their happiness with the outcome of that call, for example. Beyond that, from a coaching standpoint, what happens in most big customer service centers is the analysts are really only sort of spot checking in a manual way 2 to 3 or 4% of the interactions that are happening, and looking for compliance, quality assurance type situations, when they could be tapping into 100% of that pool and being able to analyze that at scale. So just the sheer volume of interactions you're able to access and use as insights that then make the agent's job better and their experience better improves customer experience.
Yeah. And so, you had touched on the idea of, or the challenge of data silos and everything, but obviously the opportunity to connect not only the data channels, but the marketing and communication and CX channels is tremendous here. So how can conversation intelligence be combined with other multi-channel analytics to create that that North Star of the omni-channel customer experience?
Sure. So depending on which customers, we have customers that have a variety of different ways that they are combining all this data together. First and foremost, when we think about conversation intelligence and our platform, et cetera, it is omni-channel. So it's able to ingest pretty much any type of interaction. A large enterprise organization, typically, they're probably already well into some sort of digital transformation effort, which means they either have a large data lake where they're pulling all this stuff in together, or they have a data lake, a CDP, that's helping provide a rounded view of the customer. So integrating a platform like ours that's doing a lot of that analytics, the ideal scenario is that by pooling all this information together and all this data together, you're able to map out this beautiful customer journey. But what's missing a lot of times from that is the actual context and emotion, the sentiment that happened in each one of those interactions. You may have had a really amazing chat with the chatbot, but then when you talk to the agent, they didn't know any information, so things went downhill. So a platform like ours helps provide more of that meaning and context to each of those touch points, which can then be ported into whatever massive data lake or a CDP, your main CRM, whether that be Salesforce or whatever. That can help be the central point, but you have to have something that's providing that meeting.
Yeah. So last topic I wanted to talk about is based on a trend in B2B marketing I've been seeing for years, and I'm sure you and those listening are seeing it too. And that's a move towards co-opting more approaches in B2B from the B2C marketing world. And after all, B2B marketers and B2B buyers are consumers, at least when they get off work. And so, there's can be and is a lot of crossover in the thinking and approaches. So I want to talk a little bit about, what B2B brands can learn from B2C marketers. So, what are the top one or two trends that you're seeing in B2B marketing that maybe originated in B2C, but are becoming more popular in the B2B world as well?
Sure. Yeah, I spent, good half of my career on the B2C side, actually. So it's a good observation. And I do think that B2B marketing can learn quite a bit from B2C. First and foremost, I do think that on the consumer side, large marketing organizations, whether they are client side or on the ad agencies, they build their career learning a lot of the fundamentals of brand in a much better way than I think most B2B, especially B2B tech, does. And that could just be the nature of how marketing evolves as the company grows.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest things would be the increasing importance that I'm seeing in brand, and I'm not talking about, the visual identity, although I do think that B2B tech in particular is starting to get better at this part of the overall brand identity, but more specifically, being very, very clear about what your unique point of view and positioning is, and being able to articulate that using a lot of the same brand fundamentals that I think B2C brands are much better at. So what I've seen in B2B is that it becomes a lot more formulaic. They think of it, the marketing is it's an engine that's delivering pipeline for sales, for example, and that the value of brand in the past has I think been forgotten or missed quite a bit from some of the CEO or some of the CFO who's delivering the budget availability for marketers. I do see that improving quite a bit in B2B, but I think there's a lot more work to do, and I think you're missing a huge opportunity. It's very hard to connect that to ROI sometimes, but I think it's a huge opportunity missed if you're not building a strong brand.
Yeah. And is there anything, I know that's something that a lot of B2B brands still need to adopt more of. Is there anything maybe a little further out that it might not even be on many B2B marketers' radars, but still that they should start paying attention to?
I'm obviously, from a tactical standpoint, I think any B2C or B2B marketer should be, if you're not already, you should be figuring out how to integrate Gen AI into your work and process with your teams. For example, from a B2B standpoint, the marketing team, one big part of our remit is that we are enabling sales and customer success with all the materials and information, and taking complicated technology type situations and providing the right positioning and messaging around that. And it's a constant battle to try and enable the field. Essentially, you've got, tons and tons of inventory of existing materials, but, inevitably the Slack channel is like, hey, do we have one of these? And you're
Right.
like, yes, we have 5,000 of those. So, one of the things is leveraging Gen AI to create some sort of, help bot that's able to, they can prompt it, ask questions, and it's not able to just go retrieve it, but it provides them a summary using your own inventory of all the assets your team has worked so hard to create to provide summaries. And then there's the link. So tapping into things like that, or even, at a much, much smaller scale, our content team, for example, the hardest part of writing a great blog post or white paper is the blank page. So it's a pretty great way to get the ball rolling in terms of the writing process. Have it write a V1, and then you can take it and it either inspired you and you can build on that, or at the very least it got things going and you can go through and massively edit it, which you absolutely should. Don't ever just use ChatGPT
Right.
alone, please. But so those are some of the the tactical things that I would recommend. The only other thing I would say is, your team and your marketing tech stack, you've probably been using AI through a lot of the software you already use anyway. So talk to those vendors and ask them how Gen AI is integrated in with the solution, that you're already using, and ask them for some advice too, as opposed to taking it all upon yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Eric, thanks so much for joining the show. One last question before we wrap up. You've given a lot of great insights and advice already. What's the next best action you recommend for B2B brands to stay agile?
I think don't forget about, we talked about the importance of brand, and I think, a key part of that, and that gets missed in B2B. I think we whether it's you're a tech company or whatever, you tend to get sort of feature function in a lot of your messaging. And I think that misses a really vital part of don't forget about emotion. Whether you're a B2B brand or a B2C brand, there's still a human that's looking at your ads, that is engaging with your salespeople that are using your messaging. So look to, in your headlines and some of the key differentiating points, look to evoke emotion, whether that is tapping into a known pain point or that there's a particular need. So those are the types of things that solve problems and those evoke emotions. So I think don't ignore that part.
Yeah, that's great. Well, again, I'd like to thank Eric Williamson, Chief Marketing Officer at CallMiner, for joining the show. You can learn more about Eric and CallMiner by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the B2B Agility Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.b2bagility.com. That's b2bagility.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile brand guides covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. Until next time, stay focused and stay agile.
The Agile brand.
Hi, I'm Mark Slayton, the host of the Delighted Customers podcast and the creator of the Trusted Guide Roadmap. The number one challenge of any change leader is getting executive buy-in. Without it, CX practices are destined to fail. You know the frustration when you don't have the support that you need. That's why I developed the Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass. It's unique because it's live, interpersonal, hands-on, and we give you proven frameworks, tools, calculators, and other resources to empower you to effectively lead change. To learn more, visit empoweredcx.com. Enrollment is now open for this quarter's masterclass starting October 16th. Don't miss your chance to join us.